Okay, so welcome back from the tea. When we think it impacts our brain as well, so when we have tea, it seems to rejuvenate. I mean, the chemicals, right, and the sugar or the heat, whatever it is. And that's why tea is also seen as a refreshing drink. Uh, Maybe that's why it caught on so much. Also, coffee gives a small spike when you feel that. Coffee has a very strong spike. It's supposed to be like a bell curve. It spikes you and then brings you down again. Huh? Fourth day without coffee for you. Oh, okay. Maybe we should. We'll see. Let me check with the host and see if it is permissible. No, no, no. Dharwad doesn't drink filter coffee. You'll have to go towards Mysore, Bangalore, because that's where it grows. Near Coorg, or you have to go up north to Shimoga near Chikmagalur. You'll get a lot of coffee. Also, the coffee is a very expensive drink to have and maintain. You can have it a few times, but to maintain it, it's expensive because a kg of coffee is about 650 rupees, and plus coffee needs 80% milk. Tea needs 10% milk, and this much of tea leaves can give you a cup of tea. This much of coffee will give you one cup of coffee. Extract है ना, you can't boil the coffee. So coffee is more raisong का है coffee. You won't get good coffee here. We too carried our own coffee powder, which we do. Okay, we have coffee from Coorg back in Pune. We found a guy who has his own estate. So if you want good coffee powder, I can tell you where you'll get it. He sends it. He sends it by post from Coorg, from Mysore. It's his own farm and grade A Arabica, very good. And one third the rate that I get online. Plus, I'm buying directly from the farmer, so all my check boxes are also ticked. And it comes by India Post, not by a truck. ट्रेन से आता है. Environment friendly coffee. हमारा दूध is also organic from people, from a guy, IT guy who quit his job to help farmers and help the Indian breed cows. So he made up a network of 50 farmers, took a loan on his savings and got them 5 cows each, and is able to bottle the milk and give it to us. You get pasteurized and unpasteurized. Tech savvy here, you have an app. You can control the milk flow using the app and all that. So yeah, I have guilt-free coffee every morning. Guilt is another thing we'll address. A lot of us are very guilty and sometimes spend a lifetime either in guilt or in anger, actually in rejection, in denial. And that actually makes us feel that we're doing something special, whereas actually we're very troubled inside. Like before I came in touch with this, I had a big problem with people who had money, people who got of big cars, and I felt that because I'd had this sudden awakening and metamorphosis, and I felt the whole world is wrong, and I was very troubled. Number one, and number two, also felt very guilty about whatever the things that you consume and the way things are, and it really doesn't help because nothing's going to change because of your guilt. And so the samadhan line helped me. When you understand why it is the way it is, and you just have to wait it out. It's going to take that long for humanity to get there. There's no point you and me crying and howling over it. Because when I traveled for a year and a half, and I met people who are activists, etc., I found them to be very bitter after a lifetime of activism. They were not happy. They didn't have solutions. They were just bitter and against the world. And they were sitting somewhere in a forest after having done a PhD in physics and गाली दे रहे थे दुनिया को. I said, what's going to come of it? And he had planted trees, and I'm like, क्या होगा? उसमें तो बंदर घूम रहा है तुम्हारे पेड़ में. आदमी किधर है? And so you don't understand really. So the rejection of what is wrong by itself is not a solution. It's just the starting point for the need for a solution, and then you have to need a solution. And real solutions can't be just copy pasted from 5 books. They have to be discovered. Like like a law in physics, you have to discover it. You can't put together 5 equations and made a. Every fundamental understanding that we have has been discovered ground up, not pieced together. by thinking completely differently. Yeah, including this famous theory, relativity and all that. Completely new way of looking at it. Not to say whether it's right or wrong. So we'll come back. So the human being. So in our attempt to further our ability to understand ourselves and our experience as a human being, as consisting of two very distinct, joint but a compound experience, which is material and mental or emotional at the same time. So we saw that the needs of the human being are distinct based on whether they're mental or emotional needs and material needs. We also saw that the activities of the human being are some that happen only in the body and some that happen in the cell, some that need both to function. And we're doing this so I can better understand who I am and what is needed for me to get to where I would like to go. Now the third one, the fourth one pointed, but really the third one is the faculty of believing. And we have a little thought experiment here. So I won't draw this on the board. This is what we're going to do. We're going to take the five senses. I came up with this many years ago while conducting a session, and it helped to clarify. So we're going to take one sense at a time. So we're taking the sense of touch first. Okay. This is the environment. This is what is happening outside. This is what is happening in the body, and this is what the self is experiencing. Okay. So 1A. What is the condition in the environment? I fall sick, so I go to the doctor, and the doctor says I need an injection. So the doctor pricks a needle onto the body. What will happen to the body? If the needle is sharper than the body, if the pressure is enough for it to pierce the skin, it's going to pierce the skin. What will happen? It will pierce the skin and blood will ooze out. And that's without my permission. The blood will ooze out because that is a natural response of the body when the skin is pricked, because there's blood inside and I have no control over it. I cannot think that the blood should not ooze out. That's going to happen. What will happen to me? I'm going to feel the pain. I'll experience the pain. I'm not going to like the pain, but I had gone to the doctor willingly, so I'm going to thank the doctor. I'm going to pay him or her and then feel good saying that this has helped me. Although the experience itself was painful, and also despite the fact that I had to pay for the painful experience. Right? One. Second environmental possibility. I take a needle and approach you right now with the needle. I'm stronger than most of you here, maybe except him, Atul. Till he came, I was the strongest person in the room. And I will overpower you. And if I take the needle, or when you're sleeping, let us say, let's not make it so violent, right? So you're sleeping, and I get the needle and I poke it on your skin. What will happen? The needle will pierce the skin, and will blood ooze out? It will ooze out. What will be your reaction? You will be in shock. You will wonder why I did that. You will try to escape whatever, sue me. Yeah. So if you really see this, what is happening is in the environment, between the environment and the body, the action that is being committed is exactly the same. Right? The only thing that is changing is my expectation, my interpretation of that event. My expectation before the event took place, as well as my interpretation of what happened. For instance, when this happened and I come out and I go and tell a friend that, I did this, I went to so-and-so doctor. And if that friend says, Acha, wo to farji tha, he has a fake degree, he was just reported day before yesterday. What is going to be my reaction after that? It will immediately change. It's going to go through a monumental shift. You'll be wondering I wonder what the hell that guy put inside me. And it's going to change into worry. Whereas the material change on the body is exactly the same. The same amount of blood will flow out. Okay? With the sense of touch. Second, sense of smell. Let's take some perfume. Very simple. A big actor is wearing the perfume. What happens in the body, in the nose, it undergoes a chemical change. Actually, when I'm smelling a perfume, there are molecules that reach my nose. It undergoes a chemical change, comes to the brain, information comes to the cell. I interpret it as a good and expensive perfume. Hmm? Somebody like me wears the same one, deodorant is called deodorant for men, and I look like this, you're probably going to think I picked it up at the railway station. You would not think it's whatever. I even forgot the names of the expensive deals now. बलगारी एक नाम आया, एक याद आया, बीवी लगरी मैं उसको बीवी लगरी पढ़ा पहली बार, कोई बोला अबे बलगारी, मतलब वो भी you was written like B. I think it's Italian. The French are supposed to be famous for it. So the interpretation of what the perfume is, the happiness index or quotient, the same chemical impulse undergoes a change based on my interpretation of who's wearing it. And if you don't care about perfumes, which is what has happened to me today, I can't stand the smell of perfumes. It gives me a headache. It's like an incense stick. It doesn't matter what you're wearing, but if somebody is wearing something on them and I'm close to them, I get it immediately and I try to make a distance. Over the last 15, 20 years, that's what happened. So if you don't care for perfumes, somebody does not have the concept of wearing perfumes, the chemical change in the nose is going to be exactly the same under all three circumstances. What's changing is my interpretation of that chemical change based on my assumption, right, or how I see the event. Can you take any other example for smell that will help us understand this a little better? The lid of a garbage can. Yeah. So my grandmother makes me food. She serves it. I smell the food, and I appreciate it a lot because it's my grandmother. Wife serves it. First day, it smells very nice. Fifth day, I don't even notice it. Fifth year, 5 दिन में कुछ नहीं होता है. After 5 or 8 years, you stop noticing it. It happened in our marriage. I go somewhere and I say, ये बहुत अच्छा बना है, and I'll tell Gauri, you should find it out. She said, I made this 2 to 3 times. I said, did you? She said, तुमको तो कुछ याद ही नहीं रहता है. She said, I made it here and here and so and so and so and so. We don't notice. Whereas a chemical change, the taste is really the same. So if you look at the next one, similar to this, taste. Let's take the sense of taste. I put peda in your mouth. Okay. The message that is sent is your mother sent this. The chemical change, there is a chemical change in the tongue. So you get the sweetness and the nutrition goes to the body. The nutritive value of the peda reaches the body. The milk and the fat and saffron and sugar and whatever it was. So I say it is sweet. If you say the mother sent this, then you get added affection with it. So not only do I get sensory pleasure, but I get the pleasure of relationship because my mother sent it. So I'm getting this and this. Yes, and this, the behavioral, the value-based tasting, the value-based experience is superior to the first one. It makes it taste even better. So there is an added value to that experience. As you are eating it, if I say I found it on the road, I just change the input, then it is still going to taste sweet, but my response is going to become one of anger or irritation. Alright? And then I again reverse in 3C and I say, I was just joking. You're going to go back to either liking it or basically be in a state of confusion saying, ye fir badal sakta hai. Now I don't know. Uncertainty or doubt. So if you see the chemical change in the body is the same. There's no change in the chemistry. There is still sweetness, there is still the fat, there is still the saffron, there is still the sugars all going to the body. The body is not going to digest it in any different way. The response in the self, my response, my interpretation of happiness or unhappiness or of, acceptance or unacceptance undergoes a change. Yeah. गाजर हलवा. हाँ.
the ingredients are same, and the taste is also same. It's one situation, the ingredient. And in the second scenario, the same ingredient, but prepared in a restaurant by itself,
by itself.
and that is being sold out, and the customer is putting in the value. And the restaurant owner is thinking that if we order another plate, then I will be getting the money from the plate as well.
Yeah.
So the how is different, even though the taste is between that
The bow is different.
like half was the taking.
Yeah.
Now coming to the third scenario, entering into Gurudwara and the same thing is given to me as an object.
Yeah.
Already been offered to the person.
Yeah.
So my hobby is again getting changed.
Again,
I'm taking the same thing and eating it, getting the taste, but at the same time also doing
you're feeling you're going closer to heaven now. Spiritual.
So the body part is same, but
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
cell part is different.
Yeah. That reminds me, somebody called me. There was a call yesterday, so I called back and he said, "Who's this?" I said, "Who's this?" I got a call and there was a bit of confusion. I said, "Where are you calling from?" He said, "Bangalore." I said, "Oh, we were conducting a workshop here. Did you call for that? You know, there's a given." He said, "Yeah, yeah, given the workshop, right?" I said, "Yeah, please tell me." He's like, "Sir, we made a new health drink and we were thinking of promoting it. So we are ready to give you a free sample for all your participants and it will help us advertise it." So I said, "But you're in Bangalore." He said, "No, no, our Harvard office. Just tell me where it's happening. We'll come and have it delivered." I said, "No, but we're 12 kilometers away from Harvard." And I also told him, this is like a behavioral, educational, and hesitatingly I told him it's a spiritual workshop, so you wouldn't want advertising there. It's okay, we're happy without your drink. He said, "No, sir, we also have a spiritual drink." अभी कुछ भी बेचेगा है। हम लोग 4 दिन से माथा पच्ची कर रहे हैं, स्पिरिचुअल समझ में नहीं आ रहा, पूरा दुनिया को स्पिरिचुअल समझ में नहीं आ रहा, नोबडी इज एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड, तू ड्रिंक में डाल देगा स्पिरिट को। हाँ? नहीं, नहीं बोला, आई सेड नो, लेट इट बी। So the way to do it without, and also to terminate him, I said, "If you feel like it, I'll get back to you." He said, "Yeah, yeah, please store my number. We have a range, all are, sir, organic and, mother friendly, mother earth friendly and all that." I said, "Yeah, okay, we are also trying to get friendly with mother earth. Thanks very much." कहाँ से उसको नंबर मिला भाई? 18 people का देखो यही हो रहा है ना, we are sending out a मतलब this thing to share this and people want to come and sell. Um,
But I had a doubt while eating we can eat with a happy mood so that it digests.
eat with a happy mood so digest. Yeah.
Or like all the nutrients.
All the nutrients get, yeah. Pay attention when you're eating.
Food is what we are seeing is however you eat, it doesn't matter.
Just want to get digested.
The same. So our mood are seven factors depending.
It will affect because the mind or self is, like I said, 3 of the faculties are closely, they function with the body, basically the brain. There is an effect of the state of the mind on different organs of the body, which is not very clearly or exactly understood. I mean, we can't say that you are upset and hence, a little bit of insulin will not be secreted by it. It's going to have some overall effect. But it's not going to affect the health of your body in any significant way. As far as let me put it this way, as far as the body's ability to gain nutrients from that particular thing is not going to be affected. And, but even every day, I don't think that it's not going to happen. You'll still put on weight, you'll get your nutrition, everything will still happen. Nothing is going to go wrong with the body. So, yeah, people have said that you pay attention and if you're angry, people don't eat. In India, there was this belief, has been this belief, because it still exists, that if you eat pungent food, which is hot and spicy food, you will get angry, and so on and so forth. I've seen my grandparents, etc., not eating garlic and not eating, onions and not eating anything that didn't exist during their forefathers' time, including tomatoes and all that, and get angry by the time it was 12:30. And we would know that between 12:30 and 2, don't go to this guy because he's very grumpy. It's probably because he was just hungry since morning. And later on occurred to me that the anger was because of acid. They wake up at 5 a.m. They don't have anything. Then they have to go to the farm. They had their bath, came back, did their puja, and then ate at 12:30. You're hungry from 5 to 12:30. And it's hot. Chennai is hot. So they would be very grumpy at that time. And I used to eat nice spicy food from Pune, and I would have reached there, and I was not even half as angry as him because my stomach was full and I didn't have acidity. So yeah, so that belief that food affects our mood and vice versa will have to be reassessed. During COVID, the first wave, we were in Pune, so I went ahead and bought a lot of N95 masks. There was also this fear that we will run out of masks because there was not enough masks. That's what was being reported in the paper. They were selling the masks for like 100 rupees a piece. And I went ahead and bought masks for like 6,000 rupees for the next 6 months because there were 8 of us. And, so I just thought we'll be changing the mask every month. I went ahead and bought those masks. We anyways ended up getting COVID. I don't know how we got it. मैं एक बार बाहर गया था. I was in the hospital with my father-in-law and I really wanted to have coffee. So I removed the mask, had coffee in the cafeteria and put it back on. And my entire family went down with COVID about a few days after that. I don't know where it came from. And there were people who were actually begging on our street. They were on the street. They probably were having a bath every 20 days. I don't think anybody gives them food with bhav and love and affection. I don't think they take it with bhav and love. They're just happy to get it. Nothing happened to them. उनको COVID भी नहीं हुआ. They didn't even have a bath. They didn't have a mask. So some things with the body are difficult to, but it's the mind body thing is not that, that will have to be reassessed. It's probably a good thing to pay attention when you're eating because then you know you're full. When we eat absent-mindedly looking at the TV, we tend to overeat, and so do children. They tend to overeat because then they're no longer eating because of their hunger, but they're eating because they want to continue to watch that. My daughter does. She's a very light eater. She eats small portions. But if she gets to watch something once in a while, and she has these rules, so when she was growing up, she wouldn't open her mouth at all. Okay, like your kid is eating. I see around. All kids open their mouth. This one, for some reason, just didn't want to eat. If you take food close to her, she'll do. If you take out this hand, she'll close it with this hand. If I take out both hands, how will you put food into this thing? Right? I know all this. शरीर जीवन all that उसके बाद खाना नहीं खा रहा है कैसा मर जाएगा ना I mean he has to eat something so we only and plus my wife and I were traveling every 2 months and if the place changes you would anyway stop eating so our only recourse was the phone so turn on YouTube and make her watch there are these standard 2 or 3 videos of the whole world things to watch I don't know how that happened and then once she became a year and a half or two, we slowly weaned her off that with great difficulty. One day we just stopped it and she cried and I said, let her cry till the evening, that's okay. She'll get over it and she'll stop and then she forgot it. So we let her cry for a few days and then she was off the phone. But there are people who still watch it. So there is this particular cartoon that she likes where there is this Russian boy and girl. It's called Diana Roma. I remember the name. And they're up to some mischief. Okay. Some of the mischief is harmless, but I know that kind of, whatever change, the quick changes and the imagery, etc. are not good for her development. So she has rules. So if her fever goes up to 101, then she gets to watch people in Thailand building a bamboo house. It's called the bamboo series of videos. And if it goes up to 102, where she can't bear it and she has to cry, then she gets to watch Diana and Roma. So every time she falls sick, she'll keep asking me, Appa, just check the temperature. What is it? I said, Papa, it's still 100. You don't get to see anything. So if it really gets to 102, and very rarely, like recently, we were in Mysore for an entire day for some court case that landed on our head from somewhere. And I had to discuss that with the lawyer, and so then I had to give her that because I needed that half an hour with the lawyer. And she gets her chance. इनको पता है ना, they know how to make. Everybody knows how to profiteer from a good situation. We'll get to that. It's called the Labh Drishti. Kids are very quick at it. Like if your vehicle breaks down, then suddenly the price of food there will become 3 times. The villagers will sell you Maggie for like 300 bucks if there is a shortage. The kids do that. So she threw a tantrum and she kept interrupting me क्योंकि उसको पता है. I said, I know what you want, but only half an hour. I need to talk to this uncle, and I gave it to her. So yeah, so the food does not really affect us. And similarly, if you go to taste, the next one is appearance. Uh, we see a person, we recognize the person as human, interpret the person as human. These examples were made, I think, for college students, so they may be little off for older people, but really probably also applies to us. We see somebody wearing expensive clothes, imported shoes, imported clothes, imported car. On the eye, what is really happening is really only the image is forming. In fact, with light, with sight, nothing is really reaching there. It's just a reflection. With the other senses, there has to be physical contact. The sensory, sense is the only one that doesn't need physical contact. In fact, you can't see if there's physical contact. You can't see this. It has to be minimum of about 9 inches, right? And 120 degrees field of vision. So this reflection is formed on the eye, and from there goes through the optic nerve, reaches the brain, reaches the cell. If they're wearing expensive clothes and I appreciate that, then my interpretation is that this is a rich man wearing ordinary clothes. The image formed, there's no change in image, the kind of thing, but there's no like chemical, physical change here. The interpretation is different. Wearing a robe, you see that person as a saint. Wearing a dhoti, again the interpretation is different. Like me, this is the 4th day. Had I been wearing different clothes like a Bermuda and I don't know, AC/DC or Metallica t-shirt, the way you listen to the same content would have been different. Although I'm saying the same thing, I'm the same person, all the time that would have interrupted you. इसलिए ऐसा पहन कर आया मैं. फालतू का why keep that interrupted, right? So I have these sets of clothes for the workshops. I've got 2 sets of clothes that are reserved whenever I get to meet Mr. Modi, which I don't know when that will happen. Some for weddings, some from my old workplace. Last time I came here, Bhaiya said they only wear things from that they see. So ये मेरे wife ने खरीदा था from this thing called merafarmer.com. Vardha cotton है ये. It's softer than desi. So I went to the tailor and I gave him the desi shirt and I said ऐसे ही सिला के दो. So he did the same design for me. We still have tailors in Pune who can do it. I gave it to Dil Nawaz tailor. That's my tailor's name. His name is Dil Nawaz. So yesterday I was wearing a pink kurta. So that will also do men wear pink clothes? Usually no. My wife bought it for her cousin in the US, and the cousin said the cloth is very good, but I don't have time to iron it. She teaches at Boston University. She said I have no time to iron it, so she returned it. So my wife said I have no use for it, so will you make it into kurta? I said they do, because it was still the same nice, soft khadi, but it's pink. So our interpretation of colors also makes a difference on the things that we see with clothing, with vehicles. How we see somebody also changes based on what kind of vehicle they got off or got onto, the kind of spectacles that they're wearing. Whereas there is the important thing for us to note here is there is no change in the body. What is changing is the interpretation in the self. Okay? Again, I think you get the drift. Sound also very similarly. Someone sings a song. You don't know the person. There is vibration on the eardrum. You hear the song. You like the person. It's your daughter singing. Vibration is the same. You enjoy the music. And you get affection and feel nice. You don't like the person. You still get the vibration on the eardrum, but you ignore the music and you get conflicting thoughts. There's no change in the body. There's no physical change in the body. Only my assumption, interpretation of that scene, of that experience changes. So what is the conclusion? You can take numerous such scenarios. This is called recognizing and responding. What is happening in the body is for a given set of environmental variables, the change or response in the body is exactly the same. There's no change. This is called पहचानना निर्वाह करना or recognizing and responding. जैसे ये मैंने डंडा लिया, I poked it, and this is what is going to happen. You come and poke it, I'm going to have trouble with you, right? So, however, based on the assumptions in the self, and this is a very important distinction for us, this is called manana or believing, or other correlations in the self based on past experience or memory. The response or recognition responding is totally different. In other words, recognition and responding in the self depends on the belief or assumption that we have. Make sense? हमारे अंदर जो belief है, that is deciding how we ultimately react or respond to a material phenomena outside. This also helps us, gain a further distinction between the self and the body, which is upcoming or forthcoming. Okay, so we got to know that there is the faculty of believing. Now we will look at the experience of being a human to understand the difference between the self and the body further. There are three kinds of activities that we do, that I do, not the body. Digestion वगैरह side कर दिया अभी. Okay, everyone with me? First one, activities relating to understanding. There are some things that we do that are related to understanding. हमको समझ में आता है. What are we doing? We are observing, we evaluate, we believe it, and then we assimilate it, or we assimilate it and then believe it. One set of things. You read a book on physics. You're reading a book on I don't know, natural farming, whatever it is. You have to observe it. So you basically do understanding. The second is we are constantly doing things. We are performing a function or creating something. Sometimes we're just doing. जैसे ये वाला part है. What is the problem in this workshop? Most of the focus is here, which is why I said in the evening, let's do some jhadu pocha to give us a break. But we're getting short of time, so nahi ho pa raha hai. This is to give ourselves a break because there is, a saturation point for this. This is what happens as the closer we get towards lunch, we get hungry, acid is secreted in the stomach, it goes up to the rest of the body, some of it reaches the brain, the heat also from the roof also starts coming down, and like eye, body, self, activity, observing, and everybody is like zonking off. So, which is why we're doing part else. Okay. So, activities relating to doing, performing a function. And the third is activity relating to experiencing something like eating, talking, looking at the wind, experiencing the wind, a nice scenario, going for a drive, playing with children. This is all experiencing. These are three kinds of activities that we do as humans. Alright. There is a small tagline there. I'll leave that for now. This is we leave this. This is doing, this is acquiring, and this is becoming something. जैसे IAS के लिए पढ़ते हैं ना, पढ़ाई किया ना IAS के लिए. Want to be an engineer, want to be a doctor, want to be a CA. That comes from understanding. Want to be a good person. To become something, you have to understand. You can't just keep washing vessels and do things and roam around and say I became a good person. You have to apply yourself in a particular way for understanding as a human being. Okay? Animals only experience, they don't willfully do. What they do is already kind of coded into their DNA, genes. So the experience of the human being. So where does this get us? Basically, a lot of sentences here, but I'll just summarize it. When we are reading a book, listening to someone, watching a scenery, etc., this is constantly happening. You are observing, believing, evaluating, or analyzing. We are constantly active in these activities through the day, whether we like it or not. ये चलते रहता है. You can't stop it. All right. And if I ask who is understanding all this or who is observing all this, the answer is I am understanding. We don't say my frontal lobe is understanding and my left parietal lobe loves you, and the occipital lobe now wants to sleep. Even that question itself, that sentence itself, when you say my occipital lobe, who is mine? If I am the occipital lobe, how can I say my occipital lobe? Of course, scientists argue that this is a creation of language, okay, but we'll try to go beyond that and see whether we can get past that barrier. So really, I am the one who's doing all this. I am the one who's believing. Okay. Like if I ask a question, who wants respect? What is the answer? I want respect. It's not my nose, not my kidney, not my pancreas, not my elbow that desires respect. It's I that want respect. I don't even say my brain wants respect from your brain. It's meaningless. Enough. The entity you is who I expect respect from. And I use my eyes to see and judge whether you are respecting me or not. I try to look at your body language to see that. I try to look at your gestures to see that. And out of all the information, I interpret whether you're respecting me. Really respecting me, I say हाथ मार रहा है. ये भी समझ में आता है. Now, even when the action is this, the guy is taking me for a ride. हाँ? पता चलता है, right? There is an intuitive way to know that this guy is fooling me. Children are very quick with this, very fast. They know your inner mood, irrespective of what you're saying. They're just looking at you like this, and constantly they're kind of tuned to that. That's how they're able to take us for a ride. Children are very nice and also very manipulative. So, again, who wants the bank balance? Who wants to be wise? You are the body, and the answer is the self. So, one of the important inferences I would like to put up there for your consideration is the body does not desire these things: justice, order, or the truth. There is no place in the body that wants to know the truth. There is no place in the body that desires justice or what is called this. मेरे साथ अन्याय हुआ, किसके साथ हुआ? तेरे किडनी के साथ हो गया, lungs के साथ हो गया. Nowhere in the body will you find justice. But we still feel, this was injustice. We still have opinions about what is justice. I told you, right? This conflict that has captured the world's attention for now. Then it will blow away. Now it's been a few days. Now people are slowly forgetting. They're looking for the US election now. Trump आएगा कि Ramaswamy आएगा. वहाँ तमाशा और everybody shifted there. So what are the notion of justice? 2,000 Israelis have died and 20,000 Palestinians are. So it's not equal now. This is justice, numerical game. Equal number of people should die on both sides. But it's justice. The way to get them may be wrong. So this notion of something being fair, fairness, is not an expectation we have in the body. Nowhere in the body will you find it. In fact, let's ask this question. If something is the truth, can it be changing or will it be unchanging? Unchanging. Does the body change or is the body unchanging? It changes every second. We know it changes every few years. Under the microscope, we now know it's changing every second. In fact, they have some calculation. No? Every 4 years, all the cells are new. Something like that. Every 4 years, all the cells are replaced. But you are still the same. You don't change. It's the same you that was born that continues to live. And given a choice, wants to continue to live. But all the cells are changing. So if I am the cells, I should have changed. There should be a new me every year. But that doesn't happen, does it? Just food for thought. You don't have to say yes or no right now. You have to listen and then you have to see whether it makes sense. Alright, so there is no part of the body that desires justice, order, or the truth. So where does that bring us? I'll pause. Somebody has anything to say? Let me know. So these three actions of observing, understanding, doing and experiencing are done by me, are performed by me. In fact, this is how we plan our day. क्या करना है, क्या experience करना है. What do I do? So some of the doing is to do with production and duties. I have to do this, I have to get some medicine for my wife, I have to build the house, I have to repair the house. And there are experiences. I'll make chole bhature at night. Let's go and see Dandeli day after tomorrow. We are either planning for a set of experiences or a set of actions that we want to do. After adulthood, once we've crossed college, very few of us keep the observing or understanding window open. It's usually closed. So one of the difficulties in sitting in a workshop like this is that the understanding window, which is the first one, is this workshop is demanding that you open the first one again. Student बनने का portal वापस खोलो, become a student again. Because by the end of the first day itself, we inferred or concluded that we have to understand. So we're like, "Fifth understand. I finished understanding everything and have to go back to understanding." Because this is the time to do an experience, right? You're supposed to have fun. College is over. I got the job. I'm married. Everything is over. I should be doing and experiencing. Yeah. If you look at the entire world, it is doing two and three. It does and it experiences. It does and experiences. But if you read that poster and still decided to come, okay, you did at your own risk. वो 20 स्लाइड में sufficient things are written to deter you from coming. काय को फालतू में वेट somebody's day, 8 or 10 days. भाई कुछ कर रहा है, खा रहा है, खाने दो. Why should I go out? मेरे को काम धाम नहीं है क्या? To call 20 people and trouble them. सब लिखा था. अभी और भी 2-4 स्लाइड ऐड कर दिया मैंने और एक फिल्टर मारने को. Okay, so the need to understand is fundamental to us. So we basically see that it is the self that wants to understand. Okay, I'll take a brief pause. Any question, observation, or anything you disagree with? Guilt, yeah. So guilt is basically a conflict that we have between two kind of images that we believe in. Okay, so I mean that's what makes us guilty. Let's say I have an image that I will not, I don't know, look outside marriage. Okay, and I end up doing it. So I'm doing something that I believe to be untrue, and this causes guilt. We're not able to resolve two sets of images or desires that we have in ourselves. We don't have guilt when we don't end up doing that comparison, which means we're really unaware. But the moment you become unaware, you will feel guilty. So now you can apply this formula anywhere. You believe that you should live without disturbing the planet in any which way, and you're not able to do that. You have guilt. You don't know how you can do that. You have frustration. You realize that it is not possible to do that. Guilt is resolved. You realize that this is going to happen for the next 1,000 years. There's nothing you can do about it. The only way to do that is for people to get aware, and you are doing what you can so that you and others can get aware. Resolved. That is samadhan. So samadhan is not instantaneous. Sometimes for the samadhan to the resolution to really play itself out, maybe a 500-year wait. I mean, how long do you think it's going to be before the world stops fighting? Wait, at least you can't be guilty, feel bad every time people are, because they're doing it. They're not asking us. In fact, the dominant narrative is it's basically a way of life. It's who we are. We are social animals, and we are going to be animals, at some point in time. Yeah, so that's really guilt. I'll not eat sugar and eat sugar. दारू नहीं पीऊंगा, पी लिया. Next year नहीं पीऊंगा. All that. So that's what causes guilt. The regret. There again, you have two kinds of people. Some people are very sensitive, and some people are what you call a thick-skinned. That's actually not thick-skinned. They're thick-minded. They don't see things for what they are. They're refusing to see. This is why they seem thick. Once they start seeing, then they too will become sensitive, and then they have to have the guilt. So, yeah. One samadhan is also to let things be, is to say it's okay as long as the damage is not too great or it's beyond your control. It's that's why it's called a vritti. Another name for the word vritti is disposition. Some people are disposed to worry and to self contempt, self deprecation. Uska, that part of themselves has become tuned that way. Like you can tune the body, right? You keep practicing football, and you practice it so well sometimes that when the ball comes in, you hit it, it's just going to go exactly there. Or you're practicing basketball, for example. So similarly, when our faculties have been practiced or predisposed in a particular direction over a very long period of time, it gets predisposed to that kind of thinking. So sometimes you would think that people have, for instance, negative thinking, positive thinking, I care a damn attitude, sensitiveness, oversensitiveness. All that you will find here, either in the disposition or in the chitta, which is called the psyche. I am calling in the psyche. And if you want to call the man, then you can just call it the experiencer. Again, experience is happening everywhere. These are different kinds of experiences. We'll get there. But there's no word for it. Because the word vritti in Sanskrit actually means to whirl. Vrittakar is like a rotator. Gol gol ghumta hai. There is a part of us, the gol gol ghumta, just can't get out of a loop sometimes. I need money, so just keep rotating. I don't know what to do, so just keep rotating. Doesn't come out of that lock. Psyche is really our mentality, who we are. We'll get there after lunch today. Hopefully, we'll open up that box. Okay, so similar to understanding, we have activities related to performing a function or doing. We are again busy through the day performing these activities, brushing our teeth, taking a bath, farming, building bridges. We consciously choose and decide. And it is not our body that is choosing and deciding and performing these activities. I am doing it. But there are some activities which become part of a daily routine, so you don't have to consciously make a decision कि आज उठ के brush करना. You'll automatically pick up the brush. You'll reach for where you thought you had kept it. Okay, and that will automatically happen. Like even in this little room that we've been allotted, I kept my kit in one place. Now every morning when I wake up, I automatically go there, whereas I just came 3 days ago. When I go back home, I actually go into the toilet, and because we keep it inside the toilet back home. So some of this will also involve the brain. It's not within the scope of our current introductory discussion. But once we have chosen something and noticed something, it gets stored as short-term memory in one part or locational memory in one part of the brain. So then the next time, self, I don't have to again calculate ki kahan rakha hai. Ek bar karke I downloaded it. It's like you downloaded a piece of software and you put it on your phone and it's there. Every time, like on your phone, you would have arranged banking is here, travel is here, like I have these little, I'm sure all of you do that. I have a banking folder, mobile folder, travel folder, an office folder, tools folder, and that's where it is. If you move it, I won't find it. Then after like, where was it? It was right here. Even if it is on top, you won't be able to see it. Because that's where you are looking for. So you're not again thinking or trying to recollect where it is. Okay, so the doing part, this is how the doing happens. And very clearly, it is I that want to build a bridge, not the body. And try to doing that. All the planning for the bridge, etc., takes place in myself. Once planned, it is then executed via the limbs in the body and so on and so forth. So this is doing. We also have experiencing. Okay. So who enjoys delicious food, good music, or a thrilling action movie? It's not me. Who likes the thrill? Me. Somebody's bashing up somebody and I'm deriving fun out of it. That's an action movie. So so really see what drives our choice of movies, our own mentality. हमको किस चीज में मजा आता है are the kinds of movies that we find enjoyable. We like infidelity, then we go to movie जहाँ ज्यादा हो रहा था, adultery. We like religious movies, we'll go and watch that. We like action movies. We don't want to think. I don't want to apply my mind. I want to go blank, go watch an action movie. Dishum dishum. कुछ सोचने नहीं है, इसने इसको मारा, इसने इसको मारा, धाड़ 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 1.5 hours. When we were in college, we would go and watch Jackie Chan. There used to be a Jackie Chan week. There were only 3 or 4 theaters in Pune. One was Vijay Talkies. There was only one who would play, uh, you know, English movies. At 7 or 8 rupees. High roof and a fan of going, 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 going. That fan would make a noise. And there would only be like 10 of us in the theater. Me, my friend, and few more guys at the back smoking BDs. We were sitting watching that Jackie Chan movie. And there is nothing to watch. Everybody is randomly beating up each other. Just action. So the easiest thing to do is action. Easiest thing. It's harder to listen. It's still harder to observe and still harder to assimilate. इसलिए when we came, I thought this is good to do like pranayam in the morning, and but I thought ठीक है, people are anyway sleeping, let them sleep. Morning थोड़ा सा breathing करके, शाम को कुछ activity वगैरह करके. But I thought it's all adults, they're all fully grown adults, so we don't have to. इतना pampering जरूरत नहीं. So youngsters, 18, 19, 20, maybe we could have had some farming, some goat rearing, अच्छा ही है, but then you need more time. You need like a 20-day session. We don't have 20 days. So, also the experience of meeting somebody that we like is experienced in the self, it's not in the body. What happens in the body when you meet an old friend is that the reflection of their apparition, their form is available on your eyes. The recognition that this is my friend, the previous memory with which you left each other kicks in the self. And if that is a good memory, you feel good at seeing that person. If it was a bad memory, you don't feel good. Whereas in fact, there's no chemical change on the eyes. That's the beauty about sight. There's no chemical change that happens on the eyes. It's a reflection. जैसे आपको देख रहा हूँ, it's not कि आंखों में there's a chemical change. Somehow the image is available there. It gets inverted like all of us know, reaches the brain and then re-inverted to make it straight and then interpreted. And the brain actually fills up the rest of the details. For example, the 3-dimensional image that you see of each other. Purana, you can see the depth. Like I can see the depth between him, and I know that is longer compared to this. So people who study neuroscience, etc., use this to explain that what you see is actually not reality. It's the brain making it up. It's building up the 3D image. 3D kidhar aa gaya? 2D hai na? Okay. So the self is experiencing this, not the brain. Okay, we'll get to that. We're a small group, so I can make big statements and get away with it. Conclusion, and no physicist here. मैंने पहले सबको पूछ लिया था क्या पढ़ के आए, सब इंजीनियर को कुछ नहीं आता है, ऐसे ही बोलता है. इंजीनियरिंग, आर्ट, साइंस, फिलोसफी, लिटरेचर कुछ नहीं, सब बोल. Net result is nothing. It's a set of something that you read somewhere and you believe in. कुछ नहीं आता है. बिल्कुल ही theoretical physicist है ना, put his life into particle physics. Yeah, I'm willing to give that some credit. And brain scientist है, cognitive scientist, तो 3 दिन would have run कुश्ती on that. बाकी सब ऐसा ही है. Because I've been there, ना, मेरे को पता है कुछ नहीं आता है. So 3 important conclusions are going to be very important for us, because it will define in large measure how we see existence also. Number 1, I am the one that observes, believes, evaluates and understands. It is not my body that does this. So I am the seer. Seer का मतलब जो देखने वाला है, समझने वाला. I am the one that understands. Number 1. Is this much clear? मैं देखता हूँ, not the body. Number 2, I am the entity that is responsible for using the body to perform different activities and functions that I have decided. So hence I am the doer. Body अपने आप नहीं करता है. You don't slap somebody and say, sorry, my hand came on its own. You have to take it, say you slapped. Which is why you go to jail. your entity, you, your identity with your नाम बिल्ला number goes to jail. They don't say इसका शरीर उठा के जेल में डालो. नहीं होता है. Okay, so I am responsible for this. So self is the doer, seer, doer. So this is called drishta in Sanskrit or Hindi. Hindi is just a hodgepodge of many languages. Sanskrit is the base. मैं करता हूँ. I am the doer. I am the one that does. So I have to take responsibility for it. And I am the entity that undergoes a feeling of pleasure, pain, happiness, and sadness. So I am the one that is experiencing. I am the bhokta, not the body. There are physical, chemical changes that the body undergoes under various environmental conditions. But I am the one that experiences the net result of all that. I am the one that is experiencing relationships. I am the one that interacts and says, I felt good, I didn't feel bad. It's not the body. So I am the drishta. Drishta means the seer. Okay, even today, I mean, there are saints in India. They're called seers. They're supposed to see. Okay. I am the doer and I am the experience. Body is just an instrument. It's a means for me to be able to do all this. You're doing a crime, yeah. Your body is getting beaten because the pain will reach you. The experience is for you. Yeah? The self is with the body. Yeah. Self gets the pain. And also the fear of the pain. See, actually the law is built based on deterrence. Nobody is deterred, that's a different issue. But for example, if you knock off somebody on the road, you get 7 years jail. Alright? I mean, see how the law is built. So, it basically implies that while driving, you should constantly be aware and careful that if you knock off somebody, you are going to go to jail for 7 years. Nobody has that awareness when they're driving. They're listening to rock music or pop music or Amitabh Bachchan and driving. Nobody cares. When you knock off somebody, you're sentenced for 7 years. मैं बोलता तेरे को पता नहीं था क्या इसके लिए जेल होता है? अरे यार पता तो था. You can't keep remembering it all the time. I mean, that's one of the silliest laws we can have. To send somebody to jail for hitting somebody by mistake. Who would want to go and knock off somebody on the road on purpose? Yeah, come on. Who would want to go and bang their car into somebody? I have better things to do. Why would I do that? Why would you punish me for that? The whole notion of justice has to be looked at. Because we don't know who we are punishing, see? And we'll get to that by day after tomorrow. Like I said, the biggest problem in education is what? We don't know who we are educating. Forget for what and what the content should be and all that. We don't know the entity that is being educated. We still don't know what it is. Questioning. Law is also not taught. So who am I is a very big question and we'll get there. But right now we know this is the entity that is experiencing and this collection of all these abilities is what we are calling as I or self. इनको देख के मेरे मुंह से who am I? She comes from Tiruvannamalai where somebody called Ramana lived and he wrote a book called Who Am I? So somebody else in Bombay, his name was Nisargadatta Maharaj and he wrote a book called I Am That. I am that. मैं वो हूं. इन्होंने लिखा मैं कौन हूं, उन्होंने लिखा मैं वो हूं. फिर मैं कहां हूं? We'll know. both but both whatever the experience, which is not a minor state, let me say that, was of the same thread of understanding. Yeah. Nisargadatta Maharaj was actually a shopkeeper. छोटा सा किराना का दुकान था उनका. Ramana, of course, had this when he was very young, 18, 19. You were going to say something. Yeah, please go ahead. I'm done. I just occurred to me. Yeah. I've never been to Tiruvannamalai. I wanted to go there, but now. Huh? Beautiful place. Powerful place. Yeah. Hmm? South Kashi. We went to Uttar Kashi this time for our vacation. It was very sad. The place is very beautiful, but now getting very crowded and traffic jam. Then they said during the Char Dham Yatra, 2 घंटे का line लगता है. Anywhere in India, don't go during the vacation. Just come to Dharwad, even if you don't want to go to Dandeli. Don't even go to Dandeli. Actually, go somewhere off. जैसे 2 घंटे का jam लगता है. Then all we went up to Gangotri. Yeah, you. आज लंच टाइम पे रहेगा भैया 1 बजे पूछिए हाँ रेडी है ओके वी कैन टेक 1 or 2 because we are I'll put up the conclusion there हाँ जी बोलिए ಇಲ್ಲ लास्ट नहीं तुम
So when I take a decision and do something,
ये माइक चलता है क्या when people tap it it works when they speak it doesn't work push it up हाँ okay
so when I take a
is
decision,
it coming from here coming okay
so take a decision and do some act.
हाँ yeah you take a decision please
When
sorry
I take a decision and do some action, so outcome of that I experience something which is not pleasant. So which I probably do a postmortem, I evaluate, and then so that feelings sets inside me. So
Yeah.
when in future when the circumstances comes again, you know. I don't know, some sort of feelings comes in, and that's where your heart sacrifice or
Yeah.
some sort of feelings. So, how do I put that? Is that an intuition or?
Not an intuition, it's actually your different faculties working together. We'll come there, but basically what happens is when you have a bad experience, which is sensory or at work or, with somebody, a close relationship in your kutumba in society, as the case may be, because you remember we said the man is the one that is experiencing the external world. So what we call as living and experiencing is happening via the man. What happens is when the experience happens, let's say the event happens at time t, you have, like you said, a bad experience. Uh, this, the second faculty keeps watching this first faculty. Okay, this layer keeps watching this layer. This layer is continuously watching the body. Like yesterday when we said, watch your breath. Okay, and I said, who's watching it? And he said, I'm watching it after a few trials. What really your attention was drawn to was the man is watching the breath in the body. So similarly, this disposition of vritti watches the man. Okay, and what does it do? It evaluates the experience that the man went through. Was it likable? Was it not likable? Is it healthy? Is it unhealthy? Was it profitable? Was it not profitable? Was it just or was it unjust? So if you have a let's say a bad interpersonal event, then the declaration from the vritti is that this is unjust. This was not justice. I didn't feel bad. And for now, let's just assume it's an interpersonal one, because again, justice according to religions and constitutions, etc., can be very, very different in different countries. Okay, so just say somebody just behaved very badly with me, so I have a bad experience. So the declaration that this was a bad experience, that it was good or bad, is done by the vritti, which is the disposer or the disposition. This memory is now stored in the third level, 3, 2, and 1. In the third activity of the chitta, this is where the memory is stored. So what really happens is every time we recall that memory, or that memory is recalled either on its own or sometimes a similar event or the same person comes in front of us, is that entire bad previous experience spreads out inside of us. And because we initially also didn't like it, the recall of that memory again is declared by the vritti as saying this was unjust and I didn't like it. And the man actually experiences that pain again if it is a emotional event, if it is a behavioral event. But with a physical event, you will remember that you had pain, but you cannot experience the pain again. That's the distinction between the two. Let's say you broke your foot, you had a fracture. Alright? You had the fracture, the moment you have the fracture, let's say you had a hard time, you couldn't pay for it, whatever. Now you had the fracture, you experienced the pain. And the declaration from the victim is going to be, I don't like this pain. 6 months go by, the fracture is gone, your foot is healed, you remember the pain, you cannot recollect the pain, you cannot experience that pain again. You have to break your foot again to experience the same pain. You can only remember that it was painful, but you can't experience that pain again. But when your hand was fractured, the nerve behaved badly with you and you had a bad fight and showdown with her, the moment that nerve pops up here, you will feel that distaste again in your mind that, that was not a good nerve. That's what happens with emotional events or interpersonal events. But this is how it pretty much works inside. Very short. We'll be opening this up post-lunch. Right now, we just said that the self is different from the body. Now we'll open up the self between today and let's say tomorrow. Okay, so we can see that in all these cases, we can easily bring our attention to the entity that is doing this. So, for instance, what really happened between last evening's tea and today is that we just paid attention to something that's already there. We're not creating something. I don't have to convince you or coax you or request you, right? Or even guarantee you anything. Once you start observing it, you can see what is already there. It's like observing something in nature. You look at that tree, it's there. I didn't notice it yesterday, I noticed it today. You go to his farm, you didn't notice flying squirrel. And then one day you notice it and it's there and you realize I was here yesterday, but I looked at the tree, but I couldn't see the squirrel. But somebody's already seen the squirrel once. When they look at the tree, we'll also see the squirrel, like I did when we stayed with him the first day we arrived. That moment I landed, I looked up and there it was. It was sitting right there. मैंने देखा brown वाला. He's got nice squirrels on his farm. The flying one, Malabar squirrel. So the entity, the self, is the seer, the doer, and the experiencer. The subjective experiences of feelings of doing all this cannot be found in any part of the body. ये जो बोलता है ना, मेरे को गुस्सा आ रहा है. This मैं is nowhere in the body. You will not see. I want justice. You cannot isolate justice in any part of the body. You cannot take it out, put it under the microscope and say, I'm going to give you justice. नहीं होता है. Like this part of me is justice. You take it away from me. You cannot divorce me of this need for justice, to know the truth and to live in order. So another definition for comprehensive happiness is living in order in all this. It's called Vyavastha in Hindi. So we can't separate it from ourselves. We cannot find it in the body. It is distinct. So hence, the self is the entity that believes and knows. So what is the inference out of all the three-part discussion that we had? We hence call this entity conscious or sentient. So what does it mean to be conscious? This is what it means to be conscious. The entity that believes, that knows or believes, that does and experiences. So it's called Chaitanya. Okay, so what we've been referring to as the mental aspect in the self, we now will call it conscious entity, Chaitanya. Chaitanya, conscious, whatever you want to refer. We'll give it a name, but we'll give it a name after 2 or 3 days. Yeah. Some animals are conscious, have consciousness. Yeah, and some animals don't. So the ones that are the ones you are able to domesticate and we are able to pet. Like you can't have a pet cockroach. That Tommy idhar aaja, cockroach won't respond. So we'll see that it doesn't have the faculty of believing. So how do you know which animal has consciousness or not? Does it have the faculty of believing? Can you change its input based on belief? Mera kutta mere pe nahi bhokega, will bark at you. Is conscious. Mera cockroach, mera lizard, my ant, this is my pet butterfly. Nah. You can't name it, it won't respond to you. You can't domesticate it, you can't do anything with it. My earthworm, Huh? Most don't. Cobra perhaps. Snakes are deaf, they can't hear. वो जो पोंगा बजाता है ना, it looks at the movement. Snakes can't hear. They don't have the faculty of hearing. They travel by touch when they move. Oh, वो तो ठीक है. The owl was doing it yesterday. This morning when I came here, there were two owls there. If you do this, the owl too does this. यहाँ सवेरे आता है. There are two barn owls there. They're called barn owls. Gone from the city because they live in these little crevices between the. They cannot see in the daylight. No, but this one is response to karta. It's not that they can't see. They can't see as well. I mean, they navigate at night. They're not blind. सवेरे था. So some snakes do, but insects, earthworm, micron वगैरह कुछ नहीं. Micro body ही नहीं है. Basically, you need a brain. You need a fully developed brain for consciousness to interact with the brain. If you don't have a fully developed brain, where there is no brain, there is no question of having any consciousness. They cannot listen. Yeah, nice. Autistic children, definitely. All humans have consciousness. They can't move. The body can't move on its own. Do autistic children walk? They walk, right? You think they have feelings? They have feelings. Autism is a physical disorder in the brain, not a disorder in the mind, in the self, in the conscious. And again, it's a huge spectrum, right? It's an autism spectrum disorder. Also ADHD. All this is to do with the brain, not to do with the self. It's a damage in the brain that makes them autistic. Some part. No, there is a lot of disorder in the self, but not autism. It has malfunctioning, but no, structural disorder. It has a structure.
In case of autistic children,
It has a structure. It has a constitution, but there is no lacuna in the constitution itself. It malfunctions. It can be corrected by understanding. Yeah. But autism really is a problem with the brain. Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, autism, ADHD. Like this whole generation, when I travel by train, I mean, once in a while I feel bad. I feel sad that those parents could be there and because they want to shut up the child, they just give it the phone. And the child is on TikTok, it's just doing this. Uska attention span kitna hoga aapko? So 30 seconds, you think that child will ever be able to gain anything? Understand, sitting and watching some talk shows with people laughing and parents are totally clueless. If you have time, we'll take up relationships. I'm saying if you have time because I've taken like a bottom-up approach for this workshop. So we'll reach relationships towards the fag end of our discussion. Okay, but the thing is, if you don't really understand these fundamentals, then OB will not become very clear. It will sound nice, but you won't be able to really. But parenting is such a huge thing. We don't know what education. We don't know who we are teaching. खोपड़ी को पढ़ा रहे हैं. We're giving brain vita, bone vita, bone vita. There's also brain vita, brain food. एवोकाडो खाने से इंटेलिजेंस बढ़ता है. गैस बनेगा एवोकाडो खाने से, पचेगा नहीं फैट. I mean, brain does need some, obviously, energy and, we need the healthy brain to do processing, etc. In fact, what gets tired is the brain, like the tiredness that you're feeling now, that all of us are feeling, that we would like to go and eat and, give ourselves a break, sleep and come back. If we continue, we won't be able to. You think we'll be able to engage anything? One more slide? No, unbearable. The unbearableness is of the brain. Can't process. Not the cell. Can't process beyond that. Desire of the human being, you say, my desire right now is to not have any desire. Let me go away. Okay, so we'll come back to this question.
For district children,
Yeah.
it shows that 50% of them they are having full intellect. I mean, they behave like normal, and 50% they don't play. I mean, intellectual party they don't do.
Yeah.
And if you are saying that your mind, then you have to focus.
So they can. The thing is the ability to ingrain information from outside, to process it and also to express it is dependent on the health of the brain. So the brain is unhealthy or if there's a problem in the brain, it limits the ability of the self or the conscious. We just start calling it conscious from now on. Limits the ability of the conscious entity to either take in information or process it or express it. So in the case of an autistic child, you don't know. Again, I don't know much about. I know that it's like a spectrum disorder. It's not like one disease. It's like an entire spectrum. There could be a case where the child is able to understand and assimilate, but is not able to express. There could be a possibility that it's able to take it in, but not able to assimilate it. Okay. There could be a case where it's not able to take it in either. It depends. Like you give it an instruction, it doesn't know what to do. क्योंकि बाहर देखने से तो पता नहीं चलता है because it's not able to respond. It's quite possible that अंदर से पूरा बना हुआ है. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, the consciousness, that's what I'm saying, that the ability to experience, to decide and to recall, to visualize, happens with the brain, depends on the health of the brain. So if there is a problem in the brain, then the cell's ability to carry out these three functions is limited. The self is not independent of the body and processing something in thin air. It's happening with the brain. These three activities. With the brain. Three activities of the consciousness function with the brain and two function besides the brain. It is distinct, it is separate, but together. तभी तो लगता है ना मैं शरीर हूँ. हूँ भी और नहीं भी हूँ, ऐसा है ना. Okay? Yeah. Just take one last one. And, yeah. Yeah, it starts at the same level, yeah, but all starts at different times and goes to different experiences, which is why it ends up being very different. Some basic things are, if you ask specifically for children, and some basic, expectations and preparedness is exactly the same, but the abilities and dispositions can vary based on the past impression and the past development. The ability to fulfill that. Like every child, for instance, we say, wants to know the truth. It believes that what you're saying is true. It doesn't start with the belief. It wants justice. उसको एक केला दिया तो मुझे भी एक दो, है ना? And wants to do the right thing. Is eager to perform the right thing. Like her child, her son Maitreyi, he's standing there, he's trying to serve everyone. Some other children are trying to do something. They're going and helping in the Goshala. When you're doing something, they'll come and you don't have to tell them. You do the right thing. They think this is the मैं करता हूँ. They don't realize that they don't have the ability yet. They have the intent to serve you, but they don't have the ability yet. So these three things are common in every child. This you will find commonly. But as they grow up, we will find that they have different dispositions. One may be profit oriented, one may be, differently oriented and different abilities, etc. This is because of the past development and past impressions that they already have from day one. After lunch. After the future. The future of lunch. Okay.